And good afternoon, everyone. I'm Julien Bonnaud from the Swiss Space Center in direct live from EPFL in Lausanne, and you are following the first session of our Be a Star in ESA's Universe 2020 about cybersecurity for space. Of course, I hope you are all well and safe in this difficult period. Hopefully, we will give you some fresh air with the following talks. Today's topic, as you know, is cybersecurity for space. Indeed, you will see that with the ongoing space evolution, cybersecurity becomes more and more important in space activities. Speaking of space activities, we are all here to present you some ways to start your career in the space domain. For this purpose, we will have the chance to have two testimonies from professionals working in the cybersecurity for space. One at ESA, Thibault Leroux, head of Galileo first generation system security unit, and one in a Swiss industry, Giulia Traverso from Cysec in Lausanne, and she is a principal cryptographer there. Then we will have a talk from the Swiss Space Office, the Swiss delegation at ESA, represented by Mr. Johann. Our fourth speaker will be a human resource specialist from ESA, Florence Loustalot. She will present some programs at ESA for students and young professionals for ESA member states. Finally, before the conclusion, we will have a question and answer session in order to answer your question from you, viewers of this show. Do not forget to indicate to whom is directed the question. This is very important. I hope you will enjoy this session and do not hesitate to participate in the chat. Without further delay, I'm glad to let the floor to Mr. Thibault Leroux, head of Galileo first generation system security unit. Thibault, could you tell us about your career path and how you ended as head of Galileo system security unit?
Yes, thank you, Julien. Good afternoon, everybody. So my name is Thibault Leroux. I'm working in the European Space Agency in the Navigation Directorate as head of Galileo System Security Unit. I'm happy to be here in this first, for me, virtual conference. And I was wondering what I will tell you, in fact, when I've been asked to participate to this teleconference. I was thinking, in fact, in 1994, when I went out of the engineering school, I was wondering what will be interesting. Sorry for that. I was wondering what will be interesting in my professional path. And then I was thinking that if 1994, someone would have told me that I will end up in 2020 in the European Space Agency working in cybersecurity, I would not have believed it. So therefore, I will explain you my career path. So when I went out of the school, I had in mind to work in a big firm for an indefinite contract and work for 40 years for it. And you will see that it has not ended like this. I've been graduated in image and signal processing in an electronic engineering school, nothing to do with space engineering. I have started to work in 1996 in Thomson CSF, which is a security company, as a software developer, working in embedded software for secure communication device. I was developing security for X25 unit and radio frequency to secure communications for military people. In the same in 1996 to 2000, I have developed software for personal computer in order to make them more robust. I was developing the first hard disk drive encryption system, strong access control for personal computer with a smart card, and as well the first VPN software in order to connect computer out of your company. Both I have worked both for military and civil program. I can add as well, as a small anecdote, that I worked as well for the Française des Jeux in order to produce crypto aléa, in order to play online game. At that epoch, you were going to a tobacco shop, and in France, in tobacco shop, you can play a game, and have developed a software for this. It has to be very secure, and that aléa has to be very good in order to not have a problem. In 2000, I moved to Paris, still working for Thomson CSF, so still not in space program, as a system for responsible, system security responsible, to develop the security subsystem for credit card transactions. I was leading a team of 10 people, and it was a very exciting project. And I can tell you, I was very proud to protect credit card transactions, and that everybody, when someone was going to a bancomat or to pay in the shop, they were going through the subsystems that we have developed with the team. Saying that, it was a very tough project because the bank are not joking with security, and the bank also are not joking with availability. So we had also to have very performant and resilient system. And maybe you don't know, but the time when the credit card transactions are, you have the most credit card transactions is during the Mother's Day in France, where the people are buying much at the same moment. This was a civil system where you have to develop according to a security standard, common criteria. It was also a development of a specific crypto card and everything on IBM server. And after this project, in 2004, it was a time of globalization starting. Thomson CSF was buying a lot of companies, like Racal in UK, and also they also changed name to Thales Group, as you know maybe. So it was a moment that you can decide what do you want to do next, and I decided to try to move abroad in order to have a professional experience, international professional experience. And I decided to move to the Galileo project for Thales Communications. So because I knew that there will be expatriate people going all over Europe to build this system. So Galileo is, I think it's important that I start the introduction now, because this is where I'm still working now. Galileo is a global position system for Europe, providing you the position on your smartphone or your car, and it's a full European independent project from the GPS. And I think it's important that, because it's not very well known for everybody, but your smartphone for sure is compatible with Galileo. So in 2004, I decided to move to the Galileo program, even accepted to go down as system engineer and not being anymore a system team leader. And in January 2005, I went to Rome to be deployed in the Galileo joint venture between the companies Alcatel, Alenia, Astrium at that time, so it's also old name because they all changed name since then. And Thales Communication was providing the security expertise to protect the Galileo system. So I ended up to start my first experience in space in 2005. So more or less 10 years after going out of my engineering school. Then I have to tell you, very important. So since I was working in French, writing specification in French. So it was a very, very big challenge to go abroad and to start. And that's also one reason why I wanted to step back a bit in my career path in order to take over this challenge. And I have to say the 6 persons were very difficult for me because everybody speaking English, but I would say European English with European accent, and to adapt to an Italian speaker, Spanish speaker, even a British speaker, that they are not all from Oxford for sure. It took time for me to adapt, and I had a lot of headaches the 6 first months. I was going back and forth from Paris to Rome, and I settled in Rome in August 2005. From August 2005 to end of 2008, I made my pass. I became the system security leader in this joint venture, building the security of the interfaces. In 2005, security was really running behind because it was the first time that we were implementing security on the European space program, and all the others have already went through the phase A and B. We were starting the phase C, but which is the critical, the design and design and the development and the design and then we built the satellite, and had to learn everything because I knew nothing about satellite, and but I knew everything in terms of crypto, in terms of securizing the system, protecting the ground infrastructure, and that's in end of 2008. Big change in the Galileo. There has been a decisions. I think it was very helpful for the industry and for ESA. ESA decided to build the navigation directorate and to take over this system prime responsibility, while the industry, Airbus, Thales Alenia Space, they are competitor, and they didn't want really to share the risk in building the program. In 2008, we should have launched already 4 satellites, and we are very far beyond schedule. We will launch the 4 satellites in 2011 and 2012, so we were really behind. And for this reason, the joint venture ended up, so I was about to reform. And in 2009, ESA became the prime contractor, decided to hire people, and it came out that there was a job opportunity for me, and it was big decision because I have spent already 4 years in Italy, and the decision is when you are abroad like this, do you continue to go abroad, or do you want to come back to your home country? But I mean, Galileo is a very exciting program. It's a lot of satellites. It's for all the EU member states, and it's and working for ESA is also very I would say interesting, and for me it was I would say and a big opportunity. So I moved on. In 2009, I started again in a new company in ESA at that time, after having started again in the Galileo industry. And then I arrived to work in the system security, integration, and verifications. So I had the opportunity to participate on the deployment of the infrastructure and also to participate to the launch. And with my expertise in security, I was the one knowing how to run all the classified security commanding of satellite. I participated to the LEO. I went to Kourou to participate to the launch campaign, and it was very exciting, I have to say. And then I moved, and in ESA I made also a career path, because from security integration verifications, I went up and I took over the lead on the team, and coming back to what I was doing before, but with much more responsibility, because Galileo is today 26 satellite flying. It's deployed around on 20 sites all over the world, from New Caledonia, Kourou, La Réunion. I would say there are four control centers, one in France, one in Spain for the security monitoring, and and one in Italy and one in Germany. So you can see it's very large. And if I now go back to cybersecurity as it stands today, because cybersecurity is quite a new concept, I would say. We have always protecting infrastructure from security point of view, but cybersecurity is very, as a meaning that has been defined, I would say, quite recently. Top of my head is something from 2013, 2015, and in the Galileo program, it has been introduced by the member state and by the European Commission's beginning of 2017. 2017, they have started to work on the cyber policy, and how to the cyber requirements that should be implemented in the Galileo program. But in 2017, we are already in initial service provisions in Galileo. We have already, I would say, 12 satellites. I don't know by heart where we were standing, but 12 satellites flying. So imagine that we are throwing down a new set of requirements on such a big program. And I have to say that, in fact, the first infrastructures that have really implemented the cyber safe policy and cyber requirements have been qualified this summer. So you can see the time it's taking on such program in order to implement new mission level requirements. The cybersecurity is also now implemented in ESA as well. I think it's important for you to have some word, because Galileo was a precursor, and we have done all the first step in security because it was a classified program. It has a service, a governmental service with classified requirements. So therefore, it's for sure imposing a certain level of security requested by the member state. It's also providing a security objective and a security field event in order to ensure a certain level of protections. And it's also, we need also to build each time we deploy or we launch an accreditation dossier. In the European Space Agency, we have worked also a lot on security, on cyber security, and has been adopted on the 1st of July the new ESA security directive, imposing that in all the future ESA program, we have to take into account the cyber requirements, the security requirements, not only the classified ones. So there will be a lot of opportunity in ESA if you are a cyber security engineer to come and to help us in protecting future program. So the directive are now in our I would say admin rules. It will take some time in order to be implemented, but it will come, and there will be security risk assessment for each of the Galileo program in order also to protect the ESA image and to ensure that no cyber threat will cause any damage on the ESA infrastructure. This will, Julien, I don't know how many.
Yeah, everything is okay. So if you want to tell us more, you can. Otherwise, we can move on. It's really up to you. It's very impressive, and when I'm hear you speaking about Galileo, it's it's really impressive. So do you want to add something regarding Galileo and cybersecurity?
No, I mean, what is important, I will just maybe, if I have more minutes, really to make the difference about what is security and cybersecurity. I could give you some word. When you are doing a security risk assessment, for sure it includes cybersecurity, but it includes much more. It includes, for example, natural disaster. And why do we have so many control centers? Is also to cope with natural disaster. And I kept it in my pocket for you, Julien, in terms of anecdote. When I was working in Rome, it's not so, I mean, it's not so laughing, I would say, because when we were deploying the infrastructure, it happened a very tragic incident in L'Aquila. There has been an earthquake. I was more than 150 kilometers, I think. And I can tell you it was in the middle of the night and my bed was shaking like this. Okay? And the first thing that we think about, okay, is you are at home, for sure. You have this concern. You are wondering what is happening. You are in Rome. You're super far from the epicenter. But and then you go back to work, and our control center is in Fucino, so it's a telespatio site. It's very close to L'Aquila, much more closer than Rome. And it could happen that your control center is going down, but you have still to provide an availability to your user, and your systems shall work. And that's why there is a control center in Germany as well. And when you do a security risk assessment, you have to take into account also this kind of natural disaster, flooding, fire, earthquake, and you have to provide a security risk assessment and to see if you can still provide the services. The service is very important and critical for your mission, which is the case for Galileo. Galileo is a critical infrastructure for EU. It's a European critical infrastructure. It's providing a critical service today if we don't have any position on your mobile and on your car, but for the emergency, for the police, for the ambulance, it's quite critical if you don't know where to go. And I can give you another example. In Netherlands, I think it was T-Mobile or Vodafone, but Florence maybe can help me on this. There has been a fire in the telecommunication center, and it was not possible to have mobile communications anymore for this all the user having a T-Mobile SIM card or Vodafone. I don't want to put one of the two companies in difficulty here, but it doesn't matter. What matters is that half of the people did not get a way to communicate anymore, and all our civil or economy are not very dependent on mobile phone, and it should be, and that's what has happened in fact in France. I know that there is a cyber regulations now imposing on all the critical infrastructure to take into account also the security risk, and taking into account that, for example, you cannot have a risk to not have any more mobile communications, because the economy is really depending on this. And this is also security. It's not only, it's also safety, but it's also security.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we get the point, and this is really interesting. I can see that we have already a fair amount of questions, so don't worry, the chat. We will come back to you and all your questions in the Q&A session after the different talks. So thank you very much again, Thibault. And now I'm going to let the floor to Dr. Giulia Traverso, who is a principal cryptographer at Cysec. So, Giulia, same question. Could you tell us a bit more about your career path and how you landed as principal cryptographer at Cysec, please.
Yeah, so again, this talk is about, showing that no matter the background, how strange it is, it can still lead you to work in cybersecurity at ESA. So yeah, I made a little presentation. It's my journey to become a cryptographer, actually. So if we go on, we'll see that you might have recognized my accent. I come from Italy, and I come from a small village between Verona and Venice. And yeah, when I was in high school, I wanted to become like either an Egyptologist or like a Greek, ancient Greek translator or literate or something like that. So I took this lycée, like a classic studies, and yeah, basically I was focusing on translating authors from Latin and Greek, and there was a lot of literature and philosophy and history, and there was not much math or physics or science or computer science. And then later on, like when I had to decide with what type of university I wanted to do, what happens is that I realized that actually I was very intrigued by mathematics because I didn't know much about it. And so I just, sort of changed path. But at the end of the day, we will see that still I can still deal with ancient Greek and Latin even today. But yeah, I decided to kind of fulfill this hunger for knowing more about things that look completely obscure to me, and I decided to move a little bit north and go to Trento. And this is where I did my bachelor and master in mathematics. This was a lot about calculus, like or analysis, geometry, algebra, and I really liked a lot finite fields and number theory. And then I also was doing a little bit of computer science and programming. At that point, the reason why I really chose to study mathematics is because I liked the rigor of the studies, and I was really interested in how to really, have a chain of thoughts that was not biased and really coherent, and really mathematics really told me that. But still, I wasn't quite sure what to do as a job. Like I just studied mathematics because I thought it was a nice thing to do, but I had no idea what type of job you could land on with studies in mathematics. But still, like as I told you, like my classic readings and studies, etc., were never something that I completely gave up on, and I'm still reading tons of book and philosophy about literature and philosophy and so on. Then going on after the studies in mathematics, actually at the very last part of the studies in mathematics, I decided to do an internship and to do that abroad. I didn't want to go for an Erasmus because at that time I thought, well, Erasmus is still like a university, but I would like to have a completely different experience, like to really have an internship in a company. So even like getting out of my comfort zone, so getting out of my country, but also getting out of the university environment. And this is how I landed at ED Quantique, which is one of the first and still one of the few companies in the world selling quantum devices. So those are devices that are based on quantum physics, basically. And from there, I got interested in this thing that is called post-quantum cryptography. So how you can face quantum computers with cryptography and cybersecurity. And and then I discovered a little bit more about quantum cryptography and quantum mechanics. And the good thing is that I learned French, because at that time I only could speak Italian and English and Greek and Latin, but like ancient Greek and Latin, so like not much useful, right? But I can read like what is written like under the statues and so on and so forth. And it was at that point that I realized that I wanted to do research, and that I wanted to do research in cryptography. And so next step that happened is that I moved to Darmstadt, and so I moved north, in this little town near Frankfurt. And actually, this is one of the places where there's a ESA headquarter. There's a big one. So that like everything is connected. I didn't know at that time, but yeah, we just can connect the dots just looking backwards, as I think Steve Jobs was saying. But then my PhD was focusing on the things that basically I had discovered during my internship. So on long-term security, again, how to provide protection of data in the long term. So basically, how to also cope with the quantum computer through post-quantum cryptography and quantum cryptography. And I learned German. Yeah, unbelievable. And and the other thing that was really interesting about that time is that because of the conferences and talks, I could really travel a lot. So I think that it's really cool about doing a PhD, if you want to endure all the stress and the anxiety and all the other things, is that you get to travel a lot. So I've been giving talks in New Zealand, in Canada, in the US, in Morocco, all over Europe, basically. And it is there where I developed my communication skills, both oral and written, which are really helpful also for my current job. And I really learned how to work independently, alone, and to self-pace myself. This is something that I think is really valuable, that you can really be your own boss in a way. And other things that are really helped me doing this PhD was to really be resilient and proactive. And besides that, if you remember, I said that I was interested while studying mathematics, or how to really put together a chain of thought that's really coherent, how to argument ideas, etc. And what you learn in the PhD is how to basically argument your own ideas, because now you're really building, you are the one building new theorems and really paving the unknown. And so you have to really learn how to be self-critic and how to always find the weakest point of your ideas and arguments. And I really think that this helps you not just doing a PhD, but also on my current job, really like to find the best solution and try to have this open mind that you're just not picking the things that looks the coolest, but like you're really assessing it from an impartial perspective. And then next step of my life, which like started a little bit more than 1 year ago, I came back to the Lac Léman area, and this is where I decided to leave academia for good, and to work really in a cybersecurity startup. So I wanted to really see cryptography applied to a product that is the one that we are selling, which is a trusted execution environment, which is basically a server that is much more secure than a normal off-the-shelf server, and they're just really helping you protect the algorithms and the service and the applications that are hosted in there. Same thing as the data that are fed into those systems and application. And this journey started in September 2019, and basically I am in charge of the innovation projects as well, including in the market vertical of finance and smart heating, and also space. So space is one of these lines of these verticals that I cover. And the cool thing about working in a company is that you then learn how to become a project manager, and to project, and also to always be aware of the business side of things, which is then really helpful to really see what it takes, even in terms of resources and efforts, to really put in place a solution. Still, I haven't abandoned my old hobbies. Like I'm still reading a lot of philosophy and history and art and anthropology. And actually now that basically everything is online, there are plenty of university that on YouTube they put together, they put there like the lectures from their courses that are more philosophical or let's say more on the social science side of the spectrum. So this is really good because like making this one choice at the end of the day didn't really prevented me from cultivating also my other passions. So this is just to say that no matter what is the passion that you have, there's always means to cultivate it, and maybe not just a hobby, but really as part of your of your of your life, I would say. Yeah, then next, basically what I was interested in and why I basically move all around Central Europe, I would say, is that I was interested in sharpen the way I think, and I was striving for better critical and for more critical and unbiased thinking. Then I am really interested in technology, science, literature, but also philosophy, and also like how all these things are connected at a certain point. Like still we are all humans and we are all using technology, so understanding humans actually really gives you an insight on how technology can really impact or affect them. The point that I want to make, but I think that Thibault has already made, is that coming from a certain background does not prevent you to switch to new and different things. You saw him; he started from scratch, and he was brave enough to really challenge himself over and over. And this is what I think I also did. And if there's the willingness to learn and to be humble and to at first not being good at it and what you're doing, then you can really do anything, I think. And yeah, you can be interested in very distant things, and you don't have to fit in one box, I would say. And yeah, you're basically use your interest and your as a strength to expand your knowledge, and not as a way to hide from things you don't know. So basically, I had at the time, for example, I remember at high school, I had a lot of girlfriends who, after classic studies, they were like, I will still do classic studies at university because I don't know math and I'm not good, and yeah, I just don't know. I think this is the wrong mindset. Like choose what you want to choose because you really like it, not because you are afraid of discovering new things. I think with that mindset, you will just miss a lot of opportunities, I think. Especially if you think that when you are 18 or 19, like or in your early 20s, like this is simply not good and not good, I think. And then I want to shine a light on what I'm currently doing in space at the moment. So going next, what we have is like projects I'm working on in cryptography in space. So one of the first projects that I have is that we are basically trying to implement cryptographic primitives, and in a way quantum resistant primitives on an FPGA, which is basically something that is a piece of hardware where you can that you can program, but that you can also reprogram remotely. And this is very important when you're talking about satellites or nanosatellites, because you can embed it in the onboard computing of the satellite. But the thing is that you need to really get an insight on this FPGA and how changing parameters or tweaking the algorithms of certain cryptographic primitives happens, because once the nanosatellite is in space, like there's like, it's not that you can take it down. So you really need to have this piece of technology. And the thing, like this is something that is already being used, but what we are doing also is to make those type of implementation on these FPGAs solar radiation resistance, because what happens is that if these get close enough to the sun, then solar radiation might cause some flips or bit flips or faults, etc. And the thing is that if you change one bit, maybe in your cryptographic algorithm, like a few of them, or like just even one, you really don't know, you don't have full control of what you are changing, and you might really compromising the security of that primitive. And this is not good. And this is what we are really doing, like how to make enough redundancy and some in the FPGA so that we can always recover the correct code, but also without wasting too much storage space, so not to be too much redundant. Then next, the other bit that I'm doing. So we were dealing with this problem with the Global Navigation Satellite System, GNSS. This is basically the system that identifies at all time the position and the speed of boats. But those type of identification systems are prone to spoofing attacks. So basically, there can be an attacker that pretends to be a bot, for example. And here we want to secure this by adding, authenticate the different bots through signatures. So just a little bit of insight on what cryptography is for. One of the main primitives that is used is called digital signature. You don't have really to think of it as a real signature on a piece of paper, because a digital signature provides you much more than this. Because a signature, like on a paper, it just tells you, okay, this was authenticated in a way. But the other bit of a digital signature, so what cryptography provides you on top of it, is that it provides you integrity. So it's really able to tell you if a certain piece of data was tampered with. And this is really important, for example, for signing documents. And next is, yeah, what I like. Among the let's say the verticals I'm working on in the company that is based actually at the Innovation Park at EPFL, like I think space is really the most exciting one, because what I see is that also with this new space concept, with all these nanosatellites, etc., there's really a room for example, SMEs or startups to really use those satellites to really solve problems or improve certain areas to really solve problems, like for example to have less polluting digital agronomy by looking at the crops that have been planted on a certain surface, and this is like something that has been done through satellites, etc. So I'm really passionate about the fact that with the space and the satellite, you are enabling really AI and SMEs and startups to really like make a step into this ecosystem and make a difference. The other thing is that as Thibault was saying, like those cybersecurity specification, etc., are really recent. So I think it is a good chance for us, cryptographer or like a cybersecurity expert, to really do things properly, not because so far we haven't done things properly, but because like we have done things basically for the first time. Modern cryptography was basically established in the 70s. So after almost 50 years of learning, trials and fails, etc., and adding patches later on, etc. Like here I had the feeling that we can really do things like smoothly and in a coherent way that in the end will be just simpler to understand and simpler to use. And I think that was all. Here I leave you my email in case, I don't know, you want to drop a mail and ask me anything. Yeah, I will be glad to answer you.
Thank you very much, Giulia. This is really impressive to see that you are speaking so many languages and you went abroad and so on. And it's also very interesting that you did your PhD in Darmstadt because, as you know, and maybe for the viewers, Darmstadt, there is ESOC of ESA, and ESOC is the European Space Operations Center. So this is really interesting and funny that you went there and then you moved to a company and working on space. So
yeah,
this is very interesting.
That's because actually I haven't never worked for space while in Darmstadt. Like I moved out of Darmstadt and worked for space. Yeah, that was pretty funny. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. I can see that we have a massive amount of questions for the Q&A session. So I propose that we're gonna move on. And following up your presentation, we will now have a word from the Swiss delegation at ESA, Mr. Johann Richard from the Swiss Space Office of the Secretariat of State. So please, Johann, the microphone is yours.
Thank you, Julien. Good evening, everybody. I'm very glad to be here and to see so much interest. Yeah, let me share a few insights, both personally and of course from the point of view of Switzerland. Why we're so interested to have more stars in ESA's universe from Switzerland, yeah, you might ask yourselves, why are we investing time and, of course, also these events in bringing you to ESA and bringing you into space careers? And one important thing to keep in mind is that Switzerland has always been a very active and actually reliable partner in space. We've been part of ESA since the beginning, founding member, and since then we have seen many projects, if not almost all projects, having at least something from Switzerland flying to space or being used on the ground to manage these projects. So from that perspective, Switzerland in space and people working in space, both in the country and at ESA, has a very, very long history. And you might hear also during other sessions or tonight some stories from people like Giulia or Thibault, which work in space. And for us as a country, it's very important to be in this space, also because a modern society cannot live without space anymore. I mean, you probably all have a mobile phone with a navigation system, and this is space-based, as you most probably know. We have weather data, which is one of the first uses of space, or also telecommunications. Some of you might even be watching this session now over a satellite link, maybe knowing it or not knowing it at all, depending on where you are. And so for us as a country, from the point of view of the state and of the administration, being in that space is very important. And since we do not have an agency like other countries, and since we don't have our proper space program in Switzerland, ESA has always been our main partner and actually our agency. And so even more so, we need good relationships with ESA. And what we want to see is that the knowledge we build up in Switzerland is being used within that international context. So a specialized and competent workforce which can work in Switzerland on the space projects that are then flown by ESA, or people who work at ESA or with ESA to make this happen together with all the other member states. And so the landscape of what you can do in space and why you can do it and why we want you to do and to pursue a career in space is actually quite vast. And the great thing is there are really many different ways to get into space. I think we have heard from Thibault, who had no idea about ending up at ESA in the beginning. We've heard from Giulia, and even myself. If I share some personal history, I never thought I would be ending up working at the Swiss Space Office. In fact, despite the fact that I was studying in Neuchâtel, where everybody in hindsight was working somehow with ESA on these projects, I had no idea at that time that so many people, so many of my professors were somehow involved ESA, and I had work in different industries, in chip design, in IT industry, and I'm actually proof that an indirect path and a sleepless night for the story have their practical use. And so in my case, I woke up one night at 4 o'clock in the morning, couldn't sleep, and just browsed casually job postings, and somehow one job posting piqued my interest, which was about space, technology, strategy in Switzerland. And this was the point, like now 8 years ago, where I ended up in the job I've been since. And so of course, it's very particular. There was a lot of luck, but I think there are many ways that you can really approach finding your place in this space universe. And I think Florence will also share some of the opportunities you have later on, for example, with internships as a student, with young graduate trainings as a PhD, but of course also established and experienced professionals can find jobs in the space domain, both with the industry, both with ESA, in Switzerland, and of course also abroad. And for me, this is really the fascinating thing. I mean, I've had the pleasure to work with actually with the companies where Giulia has been employed as a PhD, as a student, but also now with Cysec, and I see what comes from these dedicated people who have step by step built up the knowledge they needed to thrive in that area. And also on ESA side, I have the pleasure to work with the people who built Galileo, which is really an exceptional system, a very complicated and complex system, with a lot of challenges, both technically and also, of course, in working together as ESA member states. And it's really great to see how these different skill sets, how these different careers and backgrounds come together, and where we can build something, I would say, is really beautiful. Because in the end, I think what we achieve in Europe together through ESA, through all the companies, all the people dedicating their time and their work to these projects is really amazing. And so my wish for you is that you can find your space, that you can find a way, maybe directly, maybe indirectly, and I will be very delighted to hear from Florence some more insights from ESA's side. And of course, if you have any questions towards me, I will also be here to answer them later on.
Thank you very much, Johann. So with no further ado, I will pass now the lead to Florence Loustalot from ESA, talent acquisition specialist, and she will present you some programs at ESA for ESA member state students, but also young professionals. So please, Florence, the microphone is yours.
Yes, thank you very much, Julien. But before I share a few slides on our programs, I would like to come back to what my colleagues have said here, is that enthusiasm and curiosity, daring, changing, following your dreams is probably what is the most important when you build your career and do things that you have an interest for. Also, I'm based in Noordwijk, in ESTEC, which is the largest establishment of ESA. But I tell you that from Bordeaux, where I did my studies, to Noordwijk, I went through England, Germany, Italy, a few countries and a few organizations, ESA, UN. So, I mean, and everything has a logic somehow when you look back. And I think this is very interesting and very important to really have pleasure in what you do. So that's my first message to everybody. Every young people, students who are listening to us now. So I will try to share now my screen and show you, voila, I think it's good, but I want to have, voila, I want to have this. This is my first slide. So yes, so we have indeed, as was said before, a few programs, entry level and research program at ESA. And I will go into a bit into details, not so much, but you all can go to our website, in fact, and ask questions afterwards. But let's start with the student internships, because this program is for the students who are about to graduate in their last years of the masters. And in fact, next week, we are going to publish something like 100 topics, 50 opportunities for, but 100 topics of stage. Unfortunately, this year, due to the situation we are all facing, these stage, these internships will take place remotely. So from your home, from your residence, but still we can offer stage from 3 to 6 months. Okay. So, and as Julien said several times, this address this is for the students from ESA member states and also European cooperating states, as well as associated member states. Okay, so this is the first program we have. Then we have another program, the Young Graduate Program, which is quite known to our engineers and scientists students. And this program is for the students who have just graduated. In fact, you don't need to have experience. We don't want if you have experience. We want the Young Graduate Program is for people to get on-the-job experience as first experience. And you would stay 1 year in ESA and maybe 2, work and learn from experts. Okay, and we will publish the next opportunities in February. In the past, it was in November, just in case someone was waiting for the opportunities to be published in November. No, we changed. It will be in February for a recruitment in September, October 21. Okay, and all these opportunities for young graduate traineeship, as well as students, by the way, are for places in the Netherlands, in Germany, in ESOP, in ESRIN, in Italy, in ESTEC, in the Netherlands, and other places like Leroux, in Belgium. So we have several locations where you can take this 1 year young graduate traineeship. Aside, we also have the national trainee programs, which was already mentioned. But these programs, for these programs, national trainee programs, the students, the young graduates, are also, let's say, they have a master. It's an on-the-job training. It's often a first opportunity also on-the-job training abroad. It's a 1 year or 2 year contract. And we have a few agreements with Belgium, Switzerland, Belgium, Estonia, Germany, Ireland. So we have a few agreements. So all these young graduates, let's say, are part of the national training programs. They are not ESA staff, but when they come at ESA, they do the same things as the young graduate. So I hope I'm clear. It's not maybe so easy, but and then we have also the research fellowship program, which is for people with a PhD. So if you have a PhD and you want to apply to a YGT program, I will say, no, look at the PhD. By the way, we have at the moment something like 10 job offer for PhD students. So if you have your PhD, please have a look at our career website. So also there you can do research for 2 years, maybe 3 years, mainly in science, space applications and technology. Again, this program is for people from our member states, cooperating states, or associated member states. Okay. And last but not least, we have another program which is quite interesting. It's called ESA co-funded research. And there it's for people who want to make a PhD or already have a PhD. And their research, which should be quite innovative, is financed, co-funded between university or laboratories and ESTEC. And yeah, ESTEC and ESA. Okay. So this is a bit particular. I will not go into details of this one, but please, if you are interested, go to this ideas.esa.int. Now, who do we want? Who can apply to ESA? People with a background in engineering, telecom, software, mechanical, electrical, but also in science, Earth observation and environment, planetary and space science, life and material sciences. So you can see on the slide astronomy, astrophysics, geophysics. So whatever is your background, I think as Giulia was saying before, I mean, there is no box, just whatever you are studying mathematics and you want to apply, just go for it. Look for the opportunities and there, I think it's the most important. Then we also have opportunities in more business and administration, like HR, like me, information technology. We have a huge need also in the future for IT engineers, also in view of what Thibault was saying also with cyber, which is a very new, let's say, area which is going to develop in the future years. And we also have colleagues in finance and public relation, communication. So a lot of areas. And yeah, what do we want? We want, what kind of people do we want? We want people who are curious, people who are who like to work in a multicultural environment, in team, who like to learn from others, but also, and I think it's very important with the young generation, that they can also share their new way of doing things. So, you know, at the moment at ESA, we are a lot talking about diversity and inclusiveness, and I want to also say a word about that, because I think it's very important for everybody to know that at ESA, we really welcome applications from women engineers, scientists, people with special needs, and people who want to, who have various backgrounds, generation, geography, very important also. So a diverse background is what make our success. I think this is something important to know also for everybody. And also it's very nice to work at ESA, I must say. In many years of career, I've always thought that I'm lucky to work at ESA. And also you can develop, as also Thibault was saying, your language skill. We learn every day from our colleagues who have who are different and who have another cultural background than ours. So with this, you can see this www.esa.in, career at ESA. Please consult our site and try not to miss our opportunities.
Thank you very much, Florence. Thank you very much, Florence. Your presentation was really nice. I will try to summarize just a bit. So you said basically that internship, basically stage, will be open in 1 week, and this is for undergraduate students, right? Exactly,
okay. Julien. And for will be the opportunities will be published for 1 month.
Okay.
But this year, it's important that our students know that the stage will take place from home. This is important.
This is understood. And then for YGT, meaning for young graduates, they will be open position in February 2021. Is it right? For
exactly.
A duty date in September 2021.
Exactly. We will open something like 100, 120 opportunities. And there I would really recommend the young graduates to look well at all opportunities. Choose the opportunity which is in line with their interest, their passion, their background, whatever they want to do. But the as I said before, the notion of motivation, pleasure, and interest is very important. 120 opportunities open for 1 month and in February.
Okay, thank you very much. So I think with that, it's a very nice transition into the Q&A session. So now I will ask the viewer to ask directly in the chat your question. I can see that there is already a fair amount, but of course it's open to everybody, so you can ask the question to a dedicated speaker. So please don't forget to indicate the name of the person you want to ask the question. So with no further ado, I will start the Q&A session with a question for Thibault. So Thibault, what would be the future challenges in cybersecurity that space application will face in the next years? This is the first question. And how can the students of today prepare to become the expert that you would need at ESA tomorrow? Is it clear? Because it's a fairly long question. So maybe I will separate this question in two. So first of all, the future challenges in cybersecurity for space application. You are muted. It's okay.
Yeah, okay. No, it's a very wide questions, I have to say. The challenges that we are really facing today is this capacity to upgrade our system as fast as the cyber threats are coming. So I give you first, satellite are very difficult machine to patch or to protect, and you don't change a satellite like this. They are far away in the sky, and if you have to do a software modification or a program, I don't know if the FPGA of Giulia are programmable or not, but it's not something that you can do very easily. And then indeed, and you can see it on your computer, how many security patch you are getting on your operating system, and how often do you upgrade your operating system at home. Imagine that you have an infrastructure of 20 servers, 30 operator positions, and they are working. They are I would say fault free. These operators know how to operate them. They don't want you to change your system. They don't want you to patch. They don't want. So this is the challenge. Is really to change the mentality and to try to have a very reduce time to deploy and to upgrade our system infrastructure in order to counter the cyber threat. And I think your second question was what can bring new students?
Yeah, how can the students of today prepare to become the experts we would need tomorrow? So basically, how can the students of today will be the expert of tomorrow? I think this is the question.
I mean, it's, for example, if I take my example, I never had a security course in my engineering school, and I became a security expert. So I cannot tell you which kind of study you have to do now to become what we need in the future. You will have also to develop and to learn yourself. But as explained by Florence, she mentioned a very important point is we are also looking to the people bringing the new way to do it. For me, maybe today I don't know the new way to do it. At least in cybersecurity, is like in all the domain, we are really looking at the artificial intelligence in order to anticipate a cyber threat that we don't know how to protect today. So I'll give you an example that everybody can understand. We are always running behind, for example, the virus or the Trojan. Because what we are doing is that we have an antivirus program on computer, and when a new virus is coming, we have to wait to have the new virus signature, and we have to wait to deploy it on the computer. Tomorrow, there will be a kind of artificial intelligence that we detect unusual traffic flow in order to isolate as soon as possible infected computer. And this might be an answer to the questions of the person.
Okay, thank you. Now I will have two questions for Giulia. The first one is a quick one, so we're going to start with this one. Did you have a job while doing your PhD?
No, like your job is your PhD. I wouldn't have been able to do another job. So basically, it was like a 40-hour contract, like for each week is like 40 hours, like normal contract in Europe. Then, of course, like you have to count the fact that you need to work on Saturday and Sundays and maybe late at night. So at the end, it's like, I don't know, maybe 70 or 80 hours per week. It really depends on you. But no, like a PhD is a job, and you have your own salary on your bank account and you are independent. Yes.
Yeah, I do agree with you.
I was not working for Uber, like a Deliveroo or Uber Eats or things like that to pay for my PhD. No, but like for example, I tell you what I know about Italy. I didn't do a PhD in Italy because I wanted to then go abroad. Like in Italy, you need, for example, like a PhD program is 3 years and it starts in November and then it ends in October 3 years later, and you need to take an assessment before moving forward with the PhD. In Germany, it's a little bit different. It's like you have really a job interview, and they select you based on a job interview, not like a written assessment or exam or something like that. But for example, the way the Italian academic year for PhD works is that every PhD student in Italy earn the same amount of money, no matter the topic. So if you are doing a PhD in Greek studies and translation, or chemistry, or computer science and cryptography, you earn the same. What happens in Germany, for example, is that your salary sort of depends also on the and also your PhD working conditions depends a little bit also on the market. So if the university wants to retain students, for example, in computer science, because this is the topic where they can have the most funding from the European community, etc., then they need to have a salary that is kind of not better, but like sort of competitive with a salary in the industry. And don't forget that Darmstadt is really not far from Frankfurt, so people really need to have a reason why, also from a money perspective, why to do a PhD. While on the other hand, for example, if you were doing a PhD in psychology in Germany, then you would need to pay for your PhD. Like you would do your job as a psychologist and then write your PhD thesis like in the weekends. Or for example, if you are a chemistry PhD student in Germany, what happens is that for the chemical pharmaceutical world, and as you know, Merck is like the first pharmaceutical industry in the world, and the headquarters is in Darmstadt. Then the way to proceed to work in such companies that it is mandatory to have a PhD. So what happens is that basically all people who finished chemistry with their master, they also want to do a PhD. So what happens is that for one scholarship, like one salary, they might hire 2 or 3 people. So they are just paid half, but need to still work full time. So it really depends on the country, and it really depends. And then when you are in the country, it really depends on the topic you want to do a PhD.
Okay, thank you very much. And another question, and this is a very interesting question actually, because it talks also about diversity. And so this is for Giulia, and this is a question. As a success woman working in the space domain, do you have any advices for young female students that wants to work in this sector too? Was there a particular challenge for you faced as a woman?
Actually not. I know that there's a lot of talks about diversity, etc. But like if I look back, there's not something in particular that I can relate to space. More, for example, at least in my perspective, is the fact that, and I saw that back then during my PhD. This is where I really realized that in a way women and men sort of behave differently, but this is not in terms of discrimination. This is like, I think a way to behave. Like men tend to be more assertive, or like, for example, I just give a practical example. What used to happen when I was giving a talk, for example, at university, was that the guys who would ask a question because they didn't understand something, they would often say, "Hey, you made a mistake in the slide," right? And then you stress and you're like, "Oh my God, I made a mistake in the slide. Like what I've worked on for the past 3 months is like not good." And no, in the end, like they misunderstood. Well, the way, for example, women ask the question is like, "Oh, maybe I didn't understand that well. Can you please go back?" You see what I mean? So this is not like something that this is not something that is related to space or no space. Like this is like when you are in an environment with many men, you have to be aware that they communicate in different ways, and then I have to learn to, you know, speak a little bit like not. I would never be able to say, "Look, there's a mistake over there." I will just say, "Can you please go back to slide 26 and say that again?" I will not, I stopped saying, "Hey, sorry, I think I didn't understand." Like, you see what I mean? Like making myself even more smaller. No. At the end, I think this is just my personal opinion, and like this is basically my personal experience. I had to understand that the way, like, not to offend the speaker or not to put the speaker in a stressful situation. I was sort of, you know, accepting to look just the stupidest person in the room, right? Like, don't do that. Like, if you see the guy say, "Hey, you made a mistake," if you're not comfortable with that, and I'm not, just say, "Can you please go back to slide 26? Never say, yeah, like, it's like, I don't even, like, never get the impression that you don't know why you are there. This is like a general recommendation that I give to girls, especially. So.
Thank you very much. I think we clearly understood. And as Thibault said, it's a question of maturity in a sense, right? Giulia?
I think so. Yeah, it is a question of maturity. Yeah, it is a question of maturity also.
Okay, thank you very much.
I don't... Okay.
Say again. Yeah, go ahead.
I think it's also a matter of culture. So, as I was saying, I did my PhD in Germany, and I'm Italian. And the way Germans communicate and Italians communicate is completely different. So, for example, Germans are really straight to the point. If they think you made a mistake, they will tell you. Like Italians, so I'm Italian and female. So Italians are more like, they try to, you know, go around and, you know, and introduce you to the problem little by little, because they don't want you to feel sorry. Plus, I'm a woman. And I was in Germany, and I was basically, we were just two women. So, like, it was like me being female, so a little bit maybe less assertive, you know, and also coming from a culture where you're really, you know, you're not straight to the point. So the first time they said that to me, like, this was a little bit shocking, but then you understand. So there's also this thing to take into account, that there's, you know, high context communication countries like Italy, and low context communication countries like Germany or Japan, I think.
Okay, thank you very much. The next couple of questions are going to Florence. The first question is, what kind of attributes are space agencies going to look for the respective jobs for the students, I guess? So basically, what are the kind of attributes ESA or other agencies we look into the different student applications, I would say. So maybe what are the main let's say quality you are looking for students?
As I said before, I think one of the let's say traits that we are looking for in any kind of job, any kind of let's say field of expertise, but it will always be this enthusiasm, as I said before, curiosity, open-mindedness, team spirit, collegiality, all this respect of the others, because that's also how you work well in a multicultural environment. So I think that these are some, as I said, some behavioral competencies, as we say, which are really important in any kind of job. And again, curiosity and the learning aspect is very important.
Okay, well understood. Another question for you, Florence. Are there any nationalities quota at ESA? And if yes, is it possible to find the data somewhere?
No, nationality quota, I wouldn't say it like that. At ESA, we have this duty, I would say it like that, for nationality representation, balance, okay, which corresponds to the contribution of the member states. Okay, so yes, there are some constraints, geographical constraints linked to the contribution of each member state.
And is it possible to find those info online or no?
To be honest with you, I am not sure. I could come back to the person if the person wants to get in touch with us at ESA, contact Human Resources, no problem, or to you. But I don't think we put a quota on the website. I don't think so.
Okay. Another question for you, Florence. Are there any opportunity to obtain a PhD in collaboration with ESA? If yes, what are the eligibility criteria?
Okay, so for this question, I would really advise the person who has asked the question to look at this co-funded research program. Because this is something, before it was called NPI, and since, maybe a year, it's co-funded research. It's for those who want to prepare a PhD, or also those who have a PhD, and their research can be selected. It's new, it's a new program. The research will be selected and co-funded then between ESA, if there is an interest in ESA, and university. Up to, if I remember well, 90K for the 3 years.
Sorry, I didn't hear you. Can you repeat?
Sorry, I said that the fund from ESA is up to 90K for the time of the research, for the 3 years.
Okay.
But the topics can be very vast, so I think it's better, again, if the person interested really goes to that part on our website to get all information and get in touch with our colleagues who are in charge of the program, of this program.
You said early on that there is a kind of generic info at ESA, something for HR, and asking all those questions regarding potential positions.
No, there is a web, an ESA, an address which is ESA. Contact human resources, where people can ask questions, but this is clearly on our website, www.esa.int. Okay, and you go to the career part of the website, and there you will see all the programs, the various programs with all the information needed.
Okay, we will try to add those info in the description below
yes.
the YouTube video. Like that everyone, you will have the direct link to this page.
Because it's an email address where you can ask questions, and I have colleagues in HR who answer, who look at the questions not every day, but a few times a week, and people, the ones who ask questions are answered.
Okay, thank you very much. I have another question for you. Of course, a lot of questions about different programs for young graduates. So here it's for young grade, so YGTs. How many applications do you usually get at ESA for this program? And can you confirm that the amount of people you are accepting usually?
So, I must say that in the recent years, the number of applications has increased enormously. When I started years ago, we had something like 3,000 applicants. Last campaign, we had 8,000 applications. So yes, there is quite competition. And then in the end, we have selected 110 young graduates. Okay, so yes, you can see that we have a lot of applications for, not a reduced number, but only 110 positions.
Okay, thank you very much. So I can see that we have a lot case-by-case questions regarding HR, regarding human resources and eligibility, and with different kind of experiences, backgrounds, even some young graduates with some experiences. This is not. I don't want to disclose your question, but we have so many questions about that. So I really encourage you to visit the ESA web page, and especially the dedicated section with career, and ask your question directly to this email address, because for tonight it's going to be way too long.
I repeat, Julien, excuse me. The address is contact.human.resources@esa.int.
It is well understood, and we will add it in the description of the video. So below the YouTube video, like that, everyone will have the right address to send the dedicated question.
Yeah.
Now I have a question to Giulia again, concerning your management skills. So those management skills came after you had an early, let's say your early job, or did you basically, did you learn your management skills in other sectors, or did you learn or did on your own those management skills? I don't know if my question is quite clear, but
okay, I think I understood the point. So talking about human resources and what are the personality stories. So I have always been a little bit of an organization freak, and so I remember even while doing homework when I was like 12, I would like at the beginning of the afternoon set up a timer for each subject, and like for example 45 minutes for English and like 2 hours for math, etc. I always be even a little bit early. So, right. So, like, basically, the first thing you need to know about project management or managing other people is how to manage yourself first. So, and this is what at the end, what I really learned doing the first year of PhD. Like, this was already an attitude, but what I had to do, for example, was how to be the manager of myself, and when the tasks and the outcomes and the outputs of your research are not clear, because this is like the nice and a little bit frustrating thing of research. And this is for the first year. Then from the second year on, I started to, include other co-authors in my papers, in my research paper, and I could have, for example, including and managing and supervising theses from students, bachelor, master, and having other people from all over the world collaborating. So, and this is how I learned, like one paper at a time, coordinating more people and coordinating more resources and more contribution, and still coordinating myself, still doing the job. Then when I moved to the job where I currently am, I am coordinating now several projects at the same time with different stakeholders, both inside my company and also like in a consortium. So I'm also coordinating the resources from the partners. I would say I never really took a course or a degree in project management. What I can suggest is first, like, really manage yourself, know really what it takes for you to get a task done, and know why you're not able to finish or to do a certain task. For me, for example, when I was given certain tasks, most of the reasons why I wasn't able to do that was because it was not really clear what the task was, right? And so, and it's because maybe your boss has also a rough idea of what you are supposed to do, and actually you contribute in figuring out what this task is really about. So one thing that I say in order to first learn how to manage yourself is to, if you're given a task and this is not clear, please ask questions. Please ask questions until the point that eventually either you fully understand or that you realize that there's some blind spot also for your boss, but this will relieve you from a lot of pressure that you are not able to do your job properly, things like that. Like, try to get rid as soon as possible of these feelings, otherwise you will never be able to accomplish a task. And once this is done, then you understand better what other people might need in order to understand a certain task, or or to be better coordinated. Like, certain people work better in the morning, other in the evening, so try to understand when it is a good time to have a meeting, how they need to be pushed, for example, or if they get pissed if they get pushed, or maybe they really need you to be pushed. For example, one thing that I was doing with a couple of students was to ask them each Friday to send me an email with the things that they did, and especially the things that they couldn't do and why that they don't understand, just to give me a chance to have them better on Friday, so that they could, get clear and start again on Monday, things like that. So for me, really, the Greek saying, "Gnothi auton," which means know yourself first. Yeah, really know yourself first and how to manage yourself, and then you can know how to manage other people. I would say this is. Maybe they are saying, "Yeah, she's the worst," but yeah, hopefully not. We'll see.
Thank you very much, Giulia, and thank you very much to all the speakers. And with this answer, I will conclude this Q&A session. So thank you once again to all the speakers, and thank you to you, especially the viewers. I hope this session was very interesting for you, and you learned a lot with the different talks. So as I said, you will find in the description a fair amount of questions, especially regarding ESA webpage, but also you will find a survey. So please do not hesitate to fill this survey, and it will help us to consolidate future events like that. Since it's the first one, we will try to implement your comments and do better and better and better in the future. So thank you very much. I wish you a nice evening, and I remind you also that tomorrow will be the second session about space law with new speakers. So stay tuned, and I wish you a nice evening. Bye-bye.